"That's it," she exclaimed. "That's the last 24-hour session I do in this leaky old bivvy. Time for a new one." "Perfect," she exclaimed on her way home as she spotted her local tackle shop. She first came across the AXS. I love it, but my Goldilocks may touch the roof. It's just a bit too small for me." Then she fell inside another universe. Wow, this must be the AXS 2, man. So much room for activities, but maybe just a tad too big for my syndicate. But what's that over there? It looks just right. Today you're once again joining me on the banks of Shearwater Fishery, where we're going to be taking a look at Sonic's latest addition to the AXS range, the AXS XL. But before we jump into it, please make sure you subscribe to us and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any future uploads, and also follow us on all the different social media platforms coming up on the bottom of your screen right now. Now, currently, I'm sat inside my personal bivvy, which is the AXS, which has been around for several years. Before I had the camo version, which I'm in today, I had the standard green version, and I've loved it, but every now and then I just think, could I do with a bit more space? Because I probably take more kit than the average angler because I've got all my fishing kit and then my camera equipment. And sometimes on a rainy, miserable day when I've got to get everything inside, I can start to run out of space, which is exactly where the XL comes in handy. Because as you can see, the AXS standard fits inside it. I'll go through all the measurements and everything in a second, because in this video, I'm going to show you 5 key things you need to know about this bivvy. Well, first up, the actual dimensions, because the odds are if you're going for the XL, you're looking for something with a bit more internal space and headroom. So the exact measurements are as follows. It's now 182 centimeters high, which is a whole 45 centimeters taller than what the original AXS was. So as you can see from some of the shots, sat on a fully jacked up bed chair, swinging my arms around stupidly, I do not touch the ceiling or do not touch the roof in the XL, whereas I do in the standard AXS. And then you've got the depth, which is 210 centimeters deep, which is a whole 35 centimeters deeper than it was from the standard XL. And you've got 295 centimeters wide, which again is 35 centimeters wider. All of that in combination, as you can see from some of the shots when I put the bed chair inside, in the standard AXS, the head and tail of my bed chair are just about touching the sides. There's no extra room for any kind of larger bed chair. That's a standard sort of industry standard size bed chair, but it is just about starting to touch the sides, which in the colder months I have found can sometimes touch and get a bit damp. Not been a huge issue, but if you like a bit more extra space at the top of your bed chair and the bottom, maybe for some bags and things, that's where the AXS XL really comes in, because ample and stacks more room around the bed chair itself. And of course you've got a lot more depth, so for more extra bags and buckets and things, which is going to be ideal for me with camera equipment and things, because as I said, although this has done me proud for several years and the previous one did, every now and then when I've got loads of equipment with me, I do just want that little extra space, which is exactly what the XL offers. I'm 6'1", I couldn't quite stand up in the middle. As you can see from one of these random shots, it looks like I've put myself. If you're a bit shorter than me, maybe 5, well, if I say Luke's height, you probably could just about stand up in the middle of it. But obviously that's right in the middle, because it's ever so slightly different shape. The AXS standard, the original, kind of goes up to its optimum height and level and then rolls down at the back, whereas this one dips at the front, peaks in the middle and then rolls down to a flat back. So all round, much more space inside, and the view you get when you're sat inside is huge out over the lake, so that's really nice as well. The XL doesn't just share the name AXS, it also shares pretty much the whole design of how this goes up. So much like the previous versions, you put the legs together, that they can only go together in one orientation. They've got a flat profile on one side, so they cannot be put in any other way than the direction that they meant to go in. So once you've put all them all together, you lift up the bivvy, put the block against your chest and fan the whole thing out. This is going to take a bit more effort on the first few times of using it until all the fabric starts to loosen up, of course. And also you've got some tension straps around the pegging points I'll show you in a second, which will probably aid you in putting it up if you have them slackened off once you've put the thing down. Once you've fanned it out, these front bars then pop into the block in the middle, and then you use these tension straps to pull that peak out nice and taut. But to keep the peak up in the middle, it's also got this addition of a bar which hasn't been seen on the previous models, and that just goes through this mesh sort of receptors on the front, and it stops the peak from dipping down. So if it rains, rain will come down to here, it's got a little rain gutter on the front, and it will run down either side because that keeps it lifted up in the middle. So you're not going to get water gathering there or dripping off when you come out. Then you put the poles in, and these have the quick release setup. So once you've screwed the actual pull receptor onto the screw thread. You can see there's a little sort of nut here that screws in. And once that's in there, it's super quick to put your now I've lost train of thought as I'm trying to do it. Your storm pole, sorry, and let's go straight in there, and that gives it nice tension side to side and even more resistance from any kind of pressure dropping it down. Pegging points, you've got pegging points all the way around, and as I said, on the key pegging points you've got tension straps. You can tighten that down, pull the material nice and tight all the way around, so you've not got any saggy bits anywhere that could flap in the wind, and it makes the rainwater run off much nicer as well. And that is how this main frame goes up. You've then got a tension strap that goes along the middle. I've got it on its widest setting at the moment, just so it's ever so slightly wider inside, of course. If you pull it into the slightly narrow one, it will ever so slightly elevate the roof, but not by a huge amount. You're not really going to notice it. So that's all just down to personal preference. You don't need that strap, of course, but it gives you a nice baseline of how the shape of the bivvy needs to be, especially when you're going to be putting on the front, which comes with it, and the ground sheet, which I'm going to show you in a second. Now, the ground sheets are nice and easy in the AXS, and I'm sure this is going to be no exception because it uses a buckle process rather than pegging it in. You can put this in at a later date, and you've got little buckles in each corner, and it's slightly oversized. So it's not like you're always trying to stretch it from one corner to the next. There's enough excess there. As you can see, I used the tension strap when putting this up, so I know that shape is perfect. Put this last buckle in, and there we are. Lovely heavy duty ground sheet, clicked into place, no fuss. So that's really nice. And then we've got the front panel. Again, if it's anything like the AXS I own, should zip on nice and quickly with no fuss. Thread it into there, and we're on the way. Again, because I've used the tension strap, it's already in the perfect shape to take the infill panel without having any issues. I'll come back outside and peg it out. And there we go. I haven't timed it, but I would guess that was probably around a minute from no infill panel to infill panel fitted. When it comes to doors and vents, there were multiple options available for you. Of course, you can have the whole front infill panel on, as I just showed you, with all the solid panels on the front. Alternatively, you can have the mesh panels exposed, and then the door itself, solid panel, clear PVC, or mesh once again. And if that's not enough, the door is also dual zipping, so you can have it letterbox style, which in conjunction with this big peak means even if it's lashing down with rain, you can still see out and be nice and dry without the use of having to use the PVC door. And alternatively, you can also peel the doors completely back. So if you don't want to take the full infill panel off, but in the day you want to take the doors completely back, you roll up the middle door, pull back the side panels, and then they clip onto the sides. You've got a completely open fronted shelter. But the vents don't end there. They're also round at the back, where we see two more large mozzie mesh vents underneath these baffles, so that when they're not in use, there's no way rain can ingress. But even if it was raining, it does come with these little storm straps. So you open up just the bottom and you put the straps in there, or little poles, the sort of rigid poles with Velcros either side. Put them in like that. And then the vent is open, but if it's raining, that water's still running down off the back. So you still get airflow on those muggy days, but if it's pouring down, you're not getting wet inside. When it comes to extras and accessories, there's actually only two, because you get pretty much everything with the bivvy itself. So the two extras are a vapor cap, which will go on the main bivvy itself, just an extra layer on the top, cuts down on condensation, bit more protection from the sun in the summer, bit warmer in the winter, and that just goes on the very top of the skull cap. So rather than a full overwrap, which as you can see, I've now put on, which is another extra, that only goes over the top. But when it comes to the overwrap, this is really simple to put on as well. Again, because I've used that tension strap to make sure the shape's perfect, this just went on really easily. So just chucked it over, and it uses all the same pegs and pegging points as the bivvy itself, from the corner round to each front. The only difference is it comes with 4 extra pegs to peg out the front, because you get a bit more leg room, a bit more space in there. So this is going to offer you way more protection from the elements in the summer, keep you cooler. And also in the winter, it's going to keep you a lot warmer in there, cut down on condensation. And if you like to have a nice dark bivvy for sleep during the warmer months, then it will cut down massively on light levels as well, because the material on each is 10,000mm hydrostatic head. So of course, when you've got dual of that, I don't know if it's the same with doubling up 2 sheets of paper. It may not work out exactly the same, but it should be about 20,000mm hydrostatic head worth of material between you and the elements, if that makes sense. And also, if you take off the infill panel on the main bivvy itself on the inside, at a pinch, you can squeeze 2 bed chairs in lengthways. So if every now and then you take a mate with you, or you want to take someone else with you, but you don't want to have a 2-man bivvy for those odd occasions, you can just about squeeze 2 bed chairs in on this bivvy with the overwrap, with the infill panel removed on the inside. But it's not a dedicated 2-man before anyone thinks, I bought this and couldn't fit my stuff in. You can at a pinch, and that just shows you just how much space you get once the overwrap is on. It's already a big bivvy, but because the overwrap falls off that peak, you gain an extra foot or so of legroom from the infill panel. So my bed is going to be way back there. The amount of space you'll have in there for luggage and things, this is an ideal shelter for not only shorter sessions, because without the infill panel on, it's a really quick erect bivvy and plenty of protection and space in there. But if you want to step up in the winter or do longer sessions abroad or even in the UK, the overwrap will give you that extra space and just lots more comfort when you're on the bank. Now the prices are as follows. The bivvy itself, which as I've already mentioned, comes with everything included. That's the infill panel, ground sheet, storm poles, and of course, the bivvy itself and the pegs, which you'd expect anyway. That all comes in at $399.99. And then the vapor cap, which I don't have with me today, unfortunately, but should be available by the time this video goes live, I'm sure. That will come in at $59.99. And then the overwrap, which you have seen today, comes in at $149.99. So that's everything you need to know about the AXS XL. So if you've already got an AXS and you're looking for something a little bit bigger, then this may be the option for you, because up until now you had the AXS or the AXS 2-man, which, as you've seen me do a video on before, I can fit my car in it, so it's quite a big size. Whereas this, considering it doesn't have that much more of a footprint, you get so much more space there, but you still got all the great versatility and usability of the standard AXS with all the mesh pockets at the back, the vents, the infill panel, everything that I've used so far, just in a slightly bigger format. So I'm looking forward to using one of these in the year ahead, because I am going to be getting my hands on one of these. So hopefully I'll be able to do a long-term review on one of these as well. But if it's anything like the AXS I already own, I'm going to really enjoy using it. So please do head over to the Sonik website if you want more information on this than what I've already given you, or to pick one up, find the stockist, maybe look at one of these in one of the shows. There's still a few more shows this year. If you haven't got to one, then you might be able to see these at a show. But if not, then I hope this has given you enough information on the AXS XL for you to at least consider it, because I certainly am, as I've already said. So that's it from me for now. Please like the video if you did, hit the bell icon if you haven't done so already, and also follow us on all different social media platforms coming up on your screen right now. Cheers for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Sorry, that guy putting something in the bin just scared the living daylights out of me. Next, she fell inside another universe. Wow, this must be the AXS 2-man. So much room for activity. Stop laughing. I'm melted as well next to this. It might be easier if you're not here, because it's going to make me laugh.